Joining me now with more on the Biden border debacle, 2024 presidential candidate and host of the Larry Elder Show, the man himself, Larry Elder. Larry, thank you so much for being with us today. It's a pleasure to have you.
My pleasure, Allison. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So, the Secure Border Act of 2023 seeks to address immigration issues, but are the proposed changes really enough to truly address the invasion that we're witnessing at our southern border right now?
You use the word insanity, Allison, and I couldn't agree more. I would only add it's manufactured insanity. As soon as Biden got in, he reversed virtually every one of the Trump policies that gave us the most secure border we've had in our history. He stopped the Remain in Mexico policy. He reinstated catch and release. He watered down Title 42. And you can only think, Allison, it's done by design. Why? This is a 50-50 country. Imagine having millions of illegal aliens ultimately turn citizens, ultimately turn voters, and they're likely to vote Democrat. If illegal aliens turn residents, turn citizens, turn voters, would likely vote Republican, we wouldn't be having this conversation. It was entirely done to put pressure on Republicans so they would come to the table and vote for some sort of massive amnesty program to create a bunch of Democrat voters. That's why this is so outrageous. And the other thing, you wonder why more Americans aren't angry about this. And I would say they're in the dark about it. I watch a lot of Fox, I watch a lot of MSNBC and CNN, and every day Bill Malugin, the Fox reporter on the border, would do a report showing all sorts of video about the hordes coming to this country. And then I cut on CNN and MSNBC, and there's nothing. There was a poll last year when 2.5 million Americans came in illegally. Americans were asked, how many illegal aliens came into the country last year? And the average answer was 250,000. They were off by a factor of 10. So half the country doesn't even realize this is going on. And that's why this is so outrageous.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. And it's fascinating because these liberals who claim to care so much about, humanitarian crises and people's mental health and human trafficking are just sitting back. And there's just crickets from them during this critical time that is just completely unprecedented. How do you think they're even getting away with this? And do you think if liberals knew what was really happening, they would be outraged as they should be?
There was a report done by the U.S. Civil Rights Commission a few years ago, and the group hurt most by illegal aliens, the group that is most palpably hurt by illegal aliens, are black and brown people living in the inner city, those with high school or less education, because virtually all of these illegal aliens coming from these countries in the South are people with less than high school education. 1 million more blacks would have jobs but for the presence of illegal alien labor, said the report. And illegal alien labor puts downward pressure to the tune of almost $2,000 per year on the salaries that black and brown workers would otherwise be having if it weren't for the presence of illegal alien labor. It's my long way of saying the very people who hurt the most are the black and brown people that people on the left purport to care about.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that, and it's just devastating. We need to shift the focus onto what's really important here, and I think it's exactly that. Now, speaking of black and brown people, let's get into reparations. There's been a lot of talk of that happening here in California, and I'd love to get your take on that.
Well, I've been called by the LA Times, Allison, the blackface of white supremacy, so I'm not sure I would even be qualified for reparations. But it's a joke. I mean, reparations is the extraction of money from people who were never slave owners to be given to people who were never slaves. Why should somebody today pay for something that happened to my ancestor by somebody else? It's ridiculous. And we don't even have the money. California has a $20 billion budget surplus deficit, as you well know. We have a $1.5 trillion unfunded pension liability. We don't even have the money, which is why Gavin Newsom, who signed the order that set up this task force, has said he doesn't support the $1.2 million in cash payments that they've recommended. What did he think was going to happen? I think he didn't think that they were going to drain the vault by making a recommendation this high, and he's embarrassed. Why? Because he wants to run for president, and while reparation may be popular among black people, they're not popular among the country as a whole. Only about 18% of whites support reparations. So if he wants to be considered as something other than a California loon when he runs for president, he can't back this nonsense.
For all our viewers asking where One America News is heading in the future, we would like to introduce you to OAN Live. OAN Live is the best way to stay up to date on all of the hard-hitting, straight-shooting, national and international headlines. And the best part is, OAN Live is only $4.99 per month. All the credible, honest, unbiased reporting One America News offers at a fraction of the cost of cable. Just go to OANN.com to easily sign up for OAN Live and stay informed.